Convoy is out. What does that mean for you? Spot market trucking report coming right up here in about a minute and a half. Go get yourself a cup of coffee and let's talk about this. Yes. Good morning. And of course, we're going to talk about the obvious, man. I almost didn't make it back. So, I did my little dumb intro thing, and then I've got the video playing. I'm playing the song in my head because I've got it on the headphones, right? And I'm going to plug my phone in. I'm getting my cup of coffee. And you think I do all that before, but no, I don't do things smartly. So, anyways, I barely got back here in time. I'm hearing the song. Okay. And then boom, here we are. So take a big sigh. And all right. So good morning. I hope all is well. Let's get rid of this windshield. And we'll talk about the convoy thing. And obviously that was the big topic with a lot of YouTuber trucker guys yesterday. And it is big news because, well, not for the reasons you think though. So but yep. But we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to tell you a story. Everybody loves story time with Snorelord. So, anyways, good morning. I hope all is well with you. I hope you have a good weekend planned and or a good plan for profit for the weekend if you're running. Weather seems to be picking up in the northwest, so make sure you keep an eye on that. But a little bit of wind yesterday, but not too bad there in the Midwest. And I've actually had a little bit of dispatch this week, not a whole lot, but enough to make it worthwhile. And I love helping drivers as much as I possibly can. So, anyways, got my cup of coffee and cheers. This is the We Are Metal, We Are Family.com mug. I love this. This is the one I had in the truck. So, anyways, isn't that a cool logo? Probably can't see it because that dumb green screen. Now, speaking of the green screen, it's been criticized over and over by several people that the background just doesn't work. And the reason why I have a virtual screen up is because of the privacy of my family. My kids are back and forth, behind me. They're getting ready for school or work, whatever. And what I thought about was buying one of those dividers, room divider things to put behind me and not even use a virtual screen because it can fold up. and put in the corner, whereas the green screen that I have is it's too big, it's too cumbersome. And so I'm thinking about doing that, but that's like $150. So I got to hold out on that for a minute. But anyways, good morning. I hope all is well. I know I've said that before, but you are blessed. You just got to look for it sometimes, right? All right, so let's do some shout outs and we'll get into the whole convoy thing. So, all right. We got 38 people in here. I appreciate every single one of you, including you hate watchers. Don Schonger, hello. What's up? Good morning. Grafton is in the house with his Trekkie self. CDM Freight Broker is second. B-Rad is in here. Good morning. Thank you. Truckers Anonymous, good morning. Cheap Freight Hauler, I've got some high-paying loads from Convoy. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Good morning, Patrick there. Nope. Good morning, Steve. May all carriers get paid from Convoy. Pigtail, good morning. Welcome to Monday, part 5. That's a good one. Flatbed Trucker, what's up? Stuart, what's up? TK. Sterling with the $4.20. Enjoy the decline, he says. I saw you were live last night, but we were in the middle of dinner and all that. So, Shannon, I saw that you put up a video. You're doing some very important stuff today. So, congratulations to you and the family. And then there's that lucky super trucker. Cheap Freight Hauler, Shannon, hope you're unloaded already. Cool Trucking, morning gang. What's up, man? How's retirement going? I like the background. Whoever made it is a genius. Yes, the picture's fine. It's the the virtual reality distortion that is the problem. Tolga, what's up? Good morning. Not everybody can have a $2 billion dome in their front yard, a virtual reality like the one in Las Vegas. Tolga, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Sterling, a humble genius. Let's see. What's up, Tolga? Says Cheap. Good morning, young lady. So you have an awesome morning already. I hope you're talking to Shannon and not me. Good morning, Steve and everyone. Due to an unfortunate accident a couple of weeks ago, I'm starting as a company driver next Tuesday. Wow. Well, good luck. And you'll probably make some money. And enjoy that stress-free trucking. Let that check engine light come on and you just like, not a problem. Let's see. Everybody's saying hi to each other because we're a good community. Good morning to all. It's Friday, says Sterling. Truck Pilot Nate, haven't been able to watch much lately. Stupid work schedule. Hope all has been well. We're doing all right, man. We're surviving. This guy just thinks pretty sad a brokerage couldn't make it since they have no real investments to make into the business, and the agents are working on commission. We will talk about that. We will talk about that now. Mr. Charles, there you go. Good morning. Hope all is well. I haven't heard from you in a while, so I'm hoping that no news is good news. But anyways, so let's talk about the convoy thing. All right. So let me tell you a story. So the first truck show I went to, maybe it was the second one. We've gone to GATS a couple of years in a row. Yeah, it was the first time I've been to the GATS, which is the Dallas Truck Show, which is no more. The first year I was at Like Trucking. And that was when Uber and Convoy were pretty fresh, right? They were coming in there. Uber had their, autonomous truck out there, which wasn't really an autonomous truck, but it was called Otto, OTTO, and they spent money. Uber spent money on everything. I mean, you couldn't look at any direction without seeing the logo Uber. They had these parties, they were giving free beer out. They were really getting their fingers trenched in, right? And Convoy, what they did was a little bit, they were all over the place too, but what they did was a little bit more obscure. And I remember Harold Huffman and I were just sitting there on one of the benches and inside the show there, and these young kids came up to us, like, early 20s, you can tell these were smart computer guys, And they started asking about what we liked about Uber. And so we showed them on our phone, this is what we like about Uber. This, this, and it does this, and they have the best, tension at that time. They had the best tonu. Uber's tonu was $2 a mile for your deadhead miles up to, I think, what was it, 150 miles, and plus another 250 for a tonu. So you can make $200 or $300 on a tonu, unheard of. And their mapping was great. You could see the customer visually, and Convoy was trying, but they weren't quite there yet. And these guys were acting like they were some startup company. They wouldn't tell us who they were with. And finally, we got them to admit that they were from Convoy. So what Convoy was doing is they were sending these kids into these truck shows to talk to the drivers, which I thought was good. I told them, I said, this is good. You need to talk to the drivers. Don't be disconnected from the drivers. Don't be disconnected of what the carrier and owner operators' needs are. You do that, you'll be okay. Because we like the fact that we can see the customers. We like the fact that we can, see the appointment times, because how many hours have you spent calling brokers and come to find out they give you all this detail and you can't even pick up the load because of the time. Or it's going to a place that you really don't want to go, like a Lion, like a grocery warehouse that you don't want to go to, or a CVS or something like that. So anyways, I thought that was positive. Now, follow the next year, we went in there and we told them our concerns about our email, because we had 10 trucks at the time at Like Trucking, and if somebody booked the load, we all got the email. And it was very confusing. So they tried to sort it out, but they didn't quite sort it out. It just made it kind of better in some ways and worse in others. But at the time, Convoy had decent rates. I made $800 one time to go from Joplin to Springfield. Straight through delivery. And they were great about paying attention. You didn't have to fight. But then something happened. COVID came out. They dropped their rates extremely low, and they lost a lot of their they lost a lot of their customers because they lost their capacity because the rates were so low. And that was the beginning of the end, I think, for them, because what they did is they added more IT people, they added more outsourcing. If you needed someone on the phone, their app became a little bit more glitchy. You can tell they were cutting corners, which everybody was in 2020, right? But then I knew that they were really on the decline when they started the co-brokering thing. So you'd scroll on their app and you would say, here's this load, Charlotte, North Carolina to, wherever. And it would say, this is a USA truck load. You must fill out a carrier packet for USA truck. And so when you went to bid on it, if you went to bid on it, what they would do is they would say, well, this isn't our load, so we can't, we have to get permission to get anything higher above this threshold. And I'm like, what is the point? Now, Landstar does the same thing. Trust me, I know this. But Landstar, you got to dig a little bit. Landstar is not telling you who the original broker is if it's a co-brokered load, right? You got to dig a little bit. But if you're smart and you got a couple of connections, you can figure that out. But Convoy just put it right there on their app. This is a USA truckload, or this is a Keller truckload. So what I would do is I would go over my email list and find USA Truck, or I'd find Keller and call them directly. And one of the ladies at Keller was like, how did you know about this load? You've got it posted on Convoy. But if the whole purpose of Convoy when they began was that they took new carriers, they paid pretty quickly, So if you didn't want to factor them, you didn't have to. And you could see the customers. Hell, they even give you the pickup number right there on the app, which nowadays is a bad idea. But now you look at, well, up until yesterday, you would look at a convoy load and it would say, this is a USA truck load, must be set up with USA. And then they had no room to budge on their already low rate. Why was the rate so low? Because they had to have their cut, just like Landstar. A co-broker has to have their cut, so now you got more people taking the piece of the pie. Well, I'm going to go directly to USA Truck if I want that, crappy Coke load. See if I can get at least another $100 more. So they had lost their way, and I knew that they were in trouble last year at Matt's because their big present wasn't so big. They were tucked in the upper deck all by themselves. Nobody went and talked to me at all. I went up in their booth and it was like a ghost town. And they had no promotional t-shirts or, stickers or anything. And so I knew that, not that I saw, maybe they did at one point, but maybe they didn't take that much, but I knew that they were on their way out. Now, you could sit there and say, well, they're a $1 billion company, they're too big to fail, yada, yada. I mean, come on. If there's any lesson that you should have learned in the last, 5 years, is that nobody is too big to fail. They might be restructured, but see, what Convoy did was like, wow, we're struggling here. We don't know what to do. I wonder if somebody wants to buy this. And everybody's like, nope. You want too much money and you're a mess. So Convoy's like, okay, we're out. So I don't know how many trailers they had, but you could probably make a pretty good deal on the trailers. But Convoy came in just like Uber Freight. They came in, they dominated for a minute. They got a big market share of the spot market. Not a big, but a decent piece. And for the first 2 or 3 years of me running the spot market, I actually enjoyed doing their loads because detention was automatic, which, I don't know why we have to fight for detention when it comes to the brokers. And all the, now I will say that over the years, their customer service went to crap. Before you called them, problem was solved, right? But towards the end there, they were like, they're hard to get a hold of, or you're talking to somebody you can barely understand. And like my last experience in my truck with Convoy is I picked up a load of pallets in Joplin that was coming to Springfield. It was a quick $500. And I showed up at the shipper and they're like, yeah, your pickup number, we don't even have that product. And so I called Convoy up and said, hey, there's no load here. I need my Tonu. Well, you need to hang out there. In broken English, you need to hang out there and wait so we can verify. Okay, well, I understand that you're not just taking my word for it. All right. So an hour later, I call him back. Like, hey, have we verified this yet? No, we have not verified this. I have an idea. What if I actually took my phone into the receiving office or shipping office and have you personally talk to the person right then and there? I mean, we could do that. I'm like, no, we are doing that. And so I walked in, literally handed the chick my phone. Hey, tell this Convoy person that you don't have a load for me. Yeah, this is so and so. Here's my email. Here's my full name. Yeah, there's no load here. Thanks. So I talked to the Convoy person. I'm like, okay, am I good to go? Because I'd like to go home and give me my 150 so I can go home. And they're like, yeah, you can go home. Okay, verify. I mean, it was just a whole, what should have taken like 5 minutes took like 2 hours. Now we all dealt with that as drivers, and so it took them like 2 days to even pay me on that. So that was probably the last Convoy load I booked for myself Now, there's been a couple I booked for our trucks, like early, because we got a driver that likes to get up to Denver from Salt Lake. So they had good paying loads that did that. But for the most part, you know, I very rarely checked the Convoy app on my phone when I was looking for loads. It was kind of like, wow, there's absolutely nothing I want to do. And you have a list, right? You try this board, you try this board, you try this broker, you try this broker, and then well, let's see what Convoy's got. And when you're in that position in everybody's heads, how do you survive that? Why would you want to be known like that? And I see similar things going on with Uber Freight. So hopefully the good brokers figure that out. So let's get to the comments, because man, you guys been, we got 50 people in here. I appreciate that. All right. I never knew doing nothing could be so fun. There you go. Talk about retirement. Ain't no shame in being company. You get to observe the trucking cult from afar. There you go, Sterling. No shame in that at all. What exactly happening out there, by the way? Just a standard preparation for the first quarter of 24 recession expectation, or is this more deeper than that? Well, my story is part of that, right? Craig Fuller kind of explained it when it's time to renegotiate contracts, the stuff that was contracted through Convoy. The spot is so cheap that now they can't renegotiate too much higher, and their profit margins slim. Just like in the trucking, on the trucking side, you know, you get all these expenses up high because you can afford a more expensive truck, you can afford less fuel mileage, and then when the market drops, you're kind of screwed because now your margin's gone. That's what's happening to a lot of brokerages right now. And because of all the internal stuff that Convoy was dealing and the lack of service, you have to realize that this is a service-based industry. It may not feel like it, you know. You go into a shipper and they treat you like you're a homeless bum out in the street. But this is a customer service driven industry. CDN will tell you that. CDN says Convoy wasn't an agent model. They were tech first with employees for sales, operations, admin, and tech staff to build and support their click and go software. This is true. And so what was important for them is they had to get in the personal, you have to get to the human side of trucking. I mean, you can talk about AI pricing all you want, but the reality is there's still a lot of trucking that has to deal with the human emotion. If you're a guy that owns 10 trucks and wants to put drivers in them, you have to take into account the human aspect of that. Now, click and go is nice for the convenience, but that convenience comes at a cost. They don't do GATs anymore. Wow, this boring LTL job. I miss everything. Yeah, the 50th year, which was supposed to be the final year, was going to be in 2020. Of course, everything was shut down, and they've never. It was a wrap after that. Okay, CM, but it's not like they were purchasing real assets to perform their business functions beyond desktop computers and a phone connection. It's not equivalent to purchasing a truck and trailer. They did go out and purchase a bunch of trailers, and that software was probably pretty expensive. But is Uber Freight profitable in 2023? I recall their first 5 years they were losing. The ride share side of Uber was keeping Uber Freight afloat. This is true. So these digital brokers, they're missing the human element. Question is, will their customers jump to Uber Freight, or will those shippers go back to a traditional freight broker, or change, or only work directly with carriers? You want to have a list of customers. Stewart says Convoy was a data company with a brokerage, no different to Tesla or Meta or Uber or Google. They just happen to be in the freight business. So there you go. Good question. I also like to know how many other posted loads were also simultaneously appearing on other load boards. Well, so what I would find is that if there was a load that they were having trouble moving, they would put on the DAT and 123. Well, maybe not 123, but they would put on at least the DAT board. And so that would catch your attention because, like, okay, why is this still there? And for a while, it was because it was multi-stop or it was going a dead area or something like that. But towards the end, it was because they wouldn't come up on the rate. I agree with some of what you're thinking. My belief is that if a company does not have an exit plan, then they have no plan. I believe that is true here. This is true. Not saying there is zero expenses in building into a building or brokerage. However, it's not $200,000 truck nor $80,000 trailer that you need to haul each load. And that's just drive-in. If Convoy was seeing customers' days to pay increasing, load volumes decline, why didn't they send an army of salespeople to get more customers? Brokers may have less assets. Customer acquisition is hard. And that is true. And that's, if me, the little old lonely driver that doesn't know anything, is seeing the decline of what they were going through, how did they not have smart people see and try to keep that from happening? Like, no damage control whatsoever, other than take this phone survey. Did we solve your problem on a scale of 1 to 5? that was the extent of let's try to fix something. Now, for a minute, they had clear English speaking people that became carrier reps. And there was a carrier rep that we had for a minute that was really good. But because of the turnover and the, I don't know, whatever difficulties were going on in the office, those people never stayed around. You get a relationship with someone and then they're out. Not including the other business costs of a carrier, fuel, maintenance, labor. A broker can get by with a cell phone and laptop. Paying automatic detention is not viable, as many shippers will not pay. I will pay regardless if customer doesn't once I confirm from shipper or consignee that their times are accurate. But isn't that a shipper broker relationship problem, CDN? So CDN and Tanks and Stewart are all in a discussion here. If you're just listening, if the broker can't guarantee, says Stewart, detention payment, shouldn't that be disclosed when the broker makes an agreement with the carrier that detention is based on shipper approval? So this is true. Like Coyote, what they would do, especially with Pepsi loads, is they would tell you on the Click and Go platform is that this is a Pepsi load. It could take 4 to 6 weeks for detention approval. Now, it wasn't on every load, but on the loads that it said that, I was out. Now, so if you did a Pepsi load with Coyote, you may not get your detention. And the way Jeff does the pay, especially, a couple of years ago, is that if you're waiting on detention on a load, you didn't get paid for that load until the final Raycon came in. And so if you did this, $4,000 load, are you really going to hold that for, $100? So so I avoided those situations. Now, Coyote has been good about pay. I mean, one time I delivered here at AWG in Springfield, went a mile to the come and go truck stop. By the time I got there, I had my new Raycon with detention. Wow, that's how it should be done. But even as a company driver, you have to fight for detention and layover. It's crazy. Like, no matter if you're company or owner op or lease op, you need to study that settlement sheet. You need to make sure and keep track of everything that you're getting. We have addressed this before. If you told the CEO you charged them $5K or $15K of detention last year, it would gladly paper detention versus extra staff. Many customer packages are not kind to drivers. It's all about the contract. The carrier signs the rate con for what is offered. A shipper extending beyond the terms of that contract requires a new negotiation. I see Snorelord. Thanks for answering. You're welcome, Tolga. James Clark says, I have only charged detention once this year based on I missed a load. Detention is paid by the person who is paying the bill, so I charge a little more on each load. Based on that, I won't get any. And that's what some drivers do. They'll say, hey, this is going to AWG. That detention could get pretty high. Give me X amount, and I won't. You can put on that I don't get detention. And sometimes you get your money up front instead of having to fight for it. And there's some brokers that'll do that, and others will be like, no, I can't do that. And that Tank says that in that contract is with the carrier and broker. It's up to the broker to negotiate with their customer, i.e. the shipper, when they change the terms. Stuart, I remember a broker is the middleman. Yes, it is the responsibility of the broker to disclose on the load confirmation or during negotiations if this load pays detention. And those are questions you should be asking as a driver. Truck Pilot Nate, when I owned my truck, I always went to GATS. It was fun. I miss my truck sometimes, but I can't justify leaving this LTL gig, especially now. Stuart, I have loads where shipper wants 4 hours load time before paying attention. This is my first words to carrier and build into the rate. I tell carrier to ensure driver has food and entertainment. But see, CDN, you are a rare breed. Again, there are brokers that don't even know what the unload times are. They won't even tell you about that until you get the rate con that you have to click on to agree to. And I've called brokers that don't even know what the product is. What's the product on this? Let's see here. It is freight of all kinds. Like, okay. Who's the shipper? ABC Warehouse Products. I think and it's very frustrating. We I did a recorded video about brokers not knowing their information. Eddie says, good morning, Steve. I would never have thought these digital tech brokers would fail. Always thought that this was the future of brokering freight. I liked Convoy's app, says Eddie. Detention was a breeze. It was. Trust me, detention is a sensitive topic when trying to secure a customer. Again, customer acquisition is not easy. And what some customers will do, yeah, we know we suck at loading and unloading. So how about you drop a couple of trailers? And so that's one of the tricks of getting contract freight is you got to have equipment. You got to be able to drop trailers. Think about this. I was picking up at a pet food plant there in Topeka, Kansas. And there was this, I was at Schneider at the time. There was this long line. And I went right to the front of the line. And man, people were cursing me on the CB. Schneider, what the hell are you doing? You need to get in line. I got on the CB and I said, man, I'm dropping hook, dude. I don't deal with this live load crap. And it must be nice to have all them trailers, and this wasn't just one jaded driver. It was several. And I was polite. I was like, look, man, I'm dropping hook, dude. Get out of the way. And unfortunately, though, my load wasn't ready, but they put me right in the door with the trailer I had. Man, I got a lot of dirty looks when I came out of there. I thought you said you were dropping hook. Well, they told me I wasn't, they didn't have a load ready. I said, they're so slow here that they don't even have the empty trailers loaded that are on the lot. You're going to be here a while. And now I've done some live loads there with and it's only with a broker I know I'll get detention with that I know I won't have to fight for it, right? Stewart says, from a broker standpoint, I understand why some brokers will be shady and won't mention it because it makes it hard load to sell and get covered because the tension is not favorable. And we've talked about that. We talked if there's something on the load board for a while that no one can get covered, it's either because it's a crappy situation, it's crappy times, too much transit time, too much not enough transit time, the rate is incredibly low, or it's a customer that like Target or CVS that are known for 7 to 10 hour unload times. It's the stuff that no one else wants. It's the scraps. At Landstar, that's what it was. Landstar low board was the scraps that no one else wanted. And this guy's tanks, you're gonna get all the brokers all riled up in here, but you're used to it. You bring it on, right? T-Bone, what's up? Good morning. Sage says wrong, wrong. Tolga saying hi to T-Bone, saying hi to Sage. Name one brokerage you have haul freight for that your monthly expenses were less than yours. Were more. All right. So 10 years ago, shippers were happy. When a driver arrives, less these days. When a truck arrives, just another spoke in their operation. You know, speaking of tank freight, when the first year I was in dry van, I was appalled about how truck drivers are treated at these shippers and receivers. I was appalled at how much time was wasted. I was appalled at how much lack of respect there was for my time and how cookie cut operation it was, right? And so I started asking about tank freight. I would talk to tanker drivers in the truck stops because they seem to have their act together. They seem to like not complain a lot. They didn't seem to be the jaded ones on the CB radio. You didn't see them sitting at a truck stop doing 34s because there was no freight. You know, I witnessed that over an Easter weekend when I was stuck at the Pilot Minuca watching everybody's hoods get knocked out. And so I started talking to my friends. I talked to a friend of mine that went through CDL school with me that was over at the same company, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know, that's interesting." Then I talked to a guy I went to high school with, who we had the same conversation, and then a guy that I trained had the same conversation. All these guys went on to pull tank freight, including a couple other friends, and they all like loved it. Like, dude, this is like a different style of trucking. The shippers and receivers are happy to see you. You got to kind of come in knowing your stuff, and it was like, I mean, and I never, that was a bit of advice that I'd given these guys. We ought to try tank. I'd never taken for myself. And one of the small regrets that of my career that I wish I would have done at least a little bit was tank freight. I mean, I can make a phone call and probably get a tank job right now, hauling food grade. But you know, but yeah, that's it's a whole different ballgame, right? So I didn't see that 10 years ago, CDN. A brokerage monthly expense or more than your TQL more, CH more. Okay, so we got Sage all riled up. Todd, what's up? You sent me a text. Let me see what's going on. It won't take until 10. Okay, we'll keep the other broker informed. Speaking of which, speaking of not respecting time, right? Todd's had a hell of a run with these shippers and receivers. All right. Has anyone on this chat ever been asked by a customer how to improve their check-in procedure, et cetera, to improve their driver experience? That's a great question. So so when you walk into a shipper CDN, there's a lot of them that are behind glass, and they have a big sign saying, "Do not knock on the window. We know you're there. We'll get to you when we can." Over and over and over. Okay? There was one customer I walked in, and it said, "If we don't see you, please knock on the window nicely. Please tell us you're there." And I had to do that. Like, "Hey, good morning. I'm here to pick up blah blah blah." And I said, "You know the sign? You know how rare this is?" She's like, I said, most are yelling at us for trying to get your attention. You know, I used to deliver at Rick and Bankheiser in Mechanicsburg, PA, all the time. And that chick, there was a chick there, man. She hated her life, because she made sure that you knew that she hated her life. And but they would have these big signs everywhere saying, telling, don't be rude to us. Drivers, please don't be rude. If we smile at you, smile back. And so I go to check in, and this lady's like, and I'm like, "Hey, you ought to sing for a death metal band. You're pretty angry." And she looked at me, and I said, "This sign goes both ways, right?" And she's like, "Okay, I'm sorry, driver. What do you have?" You know, and they don't care about your opinion. Now, now what I do look for now, though, thanks to Google, is you look at the Google reviews. And if there's all kinds of bad reviews, you can tell if someone's reading and being proactive from the company, because they'll come in and they'll try to defend themselves, or they'll apologize, that kind of thing. And so Google reviews is a tool to do that. Whether they listen or not, I doubt it. And then some customers will argue with the driver on the Google review. "Well, you didn't know what you were doing. You were doing this, that, and the other. So yeah, you were pushed back in line. You couldn't speak English, blah blah blah." And it's a volatile situation. So Google reviews is the only path to say, "Hey, this customer kind of sucks. I was here for 8 hours for 6 pallets." Meanwhile, the tank guys are just driving by waving at you. That's a negative CDN. Sage is correct. Why the freight is drying up and thus the rates are down. The attrition in the industry will continue until the new equilibrium is reached. CDN brokers are also banks for customers. The $2 billion Convoy says could be the amount of credit extended to their customers and potential value of loads to move. How many of you knew that OTR Capital had stopped factoring Convoy at one point? Now, I think that I saw something on Uber about 60-day pay now. Or is Uber, anybody in this chat still doing Uber Freight? Are you still getting quick pay on that? Says you look at the guy on the phone and think broker, his is not. He's the agent or employee to a large company whose expenses are more than yours. Take your yanker for life. You're just treated better as a driver. I 100% agree with that. TC, you're not fired. You're fired up, Sage. Come on now. Retired trucker coffee is ready. There you go. It sounds exciting up until a load of milk shoves you through an intersection. I've had fish push me through an intersection. I was hauling a load of fish for Bass Pro, and they didn't tell me. All Bass Pro loads were always like 10,000 pounds or less. And I picked up a load, and a friend of mine was the one that picked up, brought it to the yard. He goes, "Man, you better scale this one." I'm like, "Really? It's a Bass Pro load?" And he's like, "No, you better scale. It's doing something weird." And he couldn't tell what it was. So I get on the scale. It took me a minute to get the axles balanced, but I didn't notice anything really. But then as I'm driving, I'm like, "Man, my shifting's off. Man, something's not right with this." And I thought it was just a heavy 45,000-pound load. Well, I get to Mountain View, Missouri, where there's one traffic light, and this motorcycle decides to hit the brakes in front of me at this light, and I slammed on the brakes. And luckily, he decided to go through the light because I would have hit him because the truck jumped about 10 feet. I'm like, what the hell was that? And so I called up a friend of mine that hauls a lot of Bass Pro, and I told him what was going on. He's like, "Dude, that you got fish on." I'm like, "What?" He said, "You got tanks of water that have the big fish that go in the aquariums." I'm like, "Huh." He goes, "Man, when you get to the Macon, DC, they're going to open your doors. You're going to drop the trailer right there. They're going to put it in the dock for you." And sure enough, they open the doors. Says live fish. I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" They didn't even tell me though. It's like, man, it would have been nice to have a heads up that I had 40,000 pounds of water sloshed around back there with some fish that were probably pretty pissed off. So the profit margin, the brokerage need to run the brokerage and to pay the employee on the phone, says Sage. No shipper treats a truck arriving like a Formula One pit stop. Imagine if they did. Costco does, or receiver. They're a receiver, I guess. You show up at Costco, they look at your paperwork, they give you a buzzer. They tell you that buzzer tells you what door to go in. You get out to open your doors. You back in, pretty easy back usually. Within an hour, you're unloaded. The buzzer goes off. You go to the front. They put a sticker on your bills. Off you go. Get out of the way. We got stuff to do. Usually large facility, large parking. Costco's got it going on. I hauled fuel for 18 years. Only time a customer is angry with you is if they ran out, but then they were quickly glad to see you. Yes? No, just have to be a professional and know when to slow down properly. If it's an accident beyond your control, then that's trucking, right? Yeah, once I had knowledge that I had fish, I treated the truck a little bit different. And I told the company, I said, "Look, Bass Pro needs to tell us when we're hauling these, because if you get one of our new CDL guys that don't know not to take this turn, that could have been really bad." I take my turns because the guy who trained me in CDL school was a tanker guy. And so he was always about 15 miles an hour below the speed limit on the clover leaves and all that, and on the turns. I was a very smooth driver. And because of that, and luckily, I think that's what saved me. The great shippers or receivers don't ask the driver if improvements are needed because they are already on point. The bad ones don't give a crap. There you go. Rockin' Robin is rocking it. Good morning, retired trucker. Send the cupful this way, please. Says my name is nobody. CDN Safeway Albertsons has a great check-in procedure. Hope it stays that way since many of the drivers are not computer literate. I believe Capstone survey does affect customer check-in procedure. I've seen some improvements there. Now, if you pick up Chet pallets, you don't even talk to anybody. You go in there, you type this 368 number, and then it sends you a text. And then when you come back out, you sign the iPad, it prints out a piece of paper. There's also like Niagara Water. You don't talk to a human there either. You come in, somebody from another country takes your pickup number, they give you a door. You back into the door. You got to have it just right because the robots don't like you if you don't. The robots load you. You get a green light. You go forward. You check out yourself. You grab your seal. It prints out your paperwork. God forbid if that printer goes down. Holy moly, that becomes a nightmare. because they're taking the human element out. You don't even have a chance to bitch anybody because there's no one there. I had to find guys on break one time because the printer wasn't printing. Like, hey, man, we need a human out here. This printer sucks. Because there's nobody manning the out gate. Most flatbed freight customers are happy to see you. Uber pays in 30 days now. It's no longer quick pay. Wow. See, that could be a sign. That could be a sign. Would be nice in the end. It just seems very hard to find a middle ground. It's either in or out super fast, or they're half the day at a dock watching YouTube, many moving parts to synchronize. Uber changed to within 30 days, not twice a week anymore. Wow. YRC Convoy, other broker a month ago, and so many other carriers closed the past few years. What has the logistics industry learned and changed from these other companies? Any changed? Answer, nothing. This is true. Nobody learns. Nobody listens. OTR Capital was owed, says Jose, about 800,000 by Convoy, I think. So think of your carrier that, I mean, there's some carriers that, Jeff had a conversation with Thunder Funny and said there's some carriers out there with tens and thousands of dollars owed by Convoy that may not get that money. You don't want a bunch of losses of fish off your hands, especially piranha. Pissed off fish. Yeah, okay. T-bone. Cool Truck says, I've seen a milk tanker blow out the front cap of the trailer by slamming the brakes. If you have 2/3 load and hit your brakes hard, all kinds of bad things can happen. Automated is great till there's a problem, right? No baffles in a food grade trailer. Certified Freight Logistics is also closing its doors too. Yes, I saw that. CFL. Big trucking company has been around 70 years, right? Won't be the first tech broker to go out. A lot of brokers, even some factoring companies, have now stopped offering quick pay. That's probably not a good sign. Look, Sage was telling me 2 years ago that he was starting to see a lot of carriers have brokers that were at 60 and 80 days to pay. And that was becoming a trend. That was 2 years ago when the rates were through the roof because the shippers were struggling. Look, here's the deal. And this is something that you have to keep in mind. This is the lesson that you can take from this Convoy thing. It's easy to say, well, Convoy went out because the rates sucked. They didn't have their act together, yada, yada, yada. Ignore all that. Okay? The bottom line is the economy is becoming something that you can't falter from. In other words, you have to be on your A game to survive what we're in and what's coming. We can talk about mismanagement. We can talk about customer service. We can address all those things, and that was the contributors to their downfall. But the reality is that the trucking industry, is the canary in the coal mine. History has proven this. So you need to put steps in place to bulletproof your business, or at least be able to ride out the storm that is here and that is going to become more intense. A lot of companies that go under is because of mismanagement. I stopped working in factories because they would, I've worked for so many places that have gone under, both in restaurant and in manufacturing, because they lose focus of what they're doing. And so by the time they lose focus, the economy tanks. And guess what? They don't survive, or they have to. Oh, we're putting the jobs to Mexico. I once worked for a restaurant owner that had a good thing going. Then he ruined it by doing stuff that he shouldn't have been doing because he wasn't content with what he had. When's enough is enough, right? And, a couple of years, I saw the demise going on, so I left. Within a couple of years, he had burned all of his good managers. He couldn't keep any good employees. The restaurant went under. He put a gun to his head. These kind of times that we're in should be training you on how to become better, how to become bulletproof. So when times are good, you can really, really rake it in. And that it's as simple as that. We can go into all the complexities of why Convoy went out. And to be honest with you, I don't know all the complexities. But what I do know from my point of view, from my perspective, is that their customer service went out the window. The rates were crap. And so who knows what was going on the customer service side of the shippers, right? And then their margins went away and they borrowed too much money. Does that sound familiar? You truck owners, your profit margin is gone away and you're borrowing too much money. Does that sound familiar? So if your profit margins go away and you borrow a bunch of money, it doesn't matter if you're a big company like Convoy or a one truck Joe Schmo. That is a part of the recipe of going out. It really is that simple. Progress with concern, but not fear. Become good at what you do. And if you're barely surviving now, that's a lot more difficult. Open your eyes, open your mind. Figure out the people that are making it work and talk to them. Did Convoy ever go to C.H. Rob and said, "Hey, how are you doing this?" No, C.H. just like, "We want to buy you." Oh wait, never mind. That's a messy pie we don't want to be a part of. And they didn't. So it's that simple. It really is. You borrow too much money, your profit margin goes away, which, you can look at any graph on any low board, on any sonar, and see it's a roller coaster, up, down, up, down. Looks like an EKG graph. How do you minimize the damage of those highs and lows? And it's not just the spot market. All of trucking goes through this cycle, and we are the canary in the coal mine. And that bird is on life support. This might even cause a domino effect. I think within the market, we'll probably see a bunch of people go under, even factory companies along with carriers. Yes, that is and all will happen. Also, interest rates on lines of credit that businesses use for payroll. This is true. As that goes up, it costs more to pay for employees that are probably screaming for a raise because, ribeye is $25 a pound, right? Borrowed money is expensive, says Charles. I was just going to say that, Sage. I wonder if a lot of these businesses, says Jackknife, have variable rates of lines of credit. You start paying 10 people 30% on a couple $1 million. Eddie says, thankfully, I don't have to worry or deal with brokers playing games. I don't have to deal with being held hostage at shippers and receivers, knowing I will not get my detention. Very blessed. Sage says, I have an. All right, we're back. Damn internet. All right. TC says, yeah, that's why we've been in a recession, heading for a depression. The government won't acknowledge because they changed the definitions because elections coming up. Yes. Sage says, crap, too long to type. I'll cover it. Who was the one, the original YouTube that created the old website to highlight YouTube trucker channels? Then he was hauling cars. Now I think he's with Spectre. Funny, but super nice guy name. I don't know who you're talking about, but I know Tex Crowley had started a YouTube trucker website. But he didn't haul cars. He was an LTL guy. Marty, how's your friend Pale Rider? He's right there. He's right there. Ask him yourself. I don't think CH Robinson bought Convoy because revenue is down for even CH, and maybe they even see it right on the wall. Yeah, look, if you're dealing with lower profit margins, purchasing, like if your profit margin is eliminated because you got a new truck, the last thing you want to do is buy another new truck. You can't throw more money at a situation and hope that that fixes it. You know, you might get a quote for, hey, I need a dedicated carrier on this. We need 2 trailers. 1 truck will be fine. And you got to sit there and like, okay, I have very little profit margin. Do I have enough to pay for this trailer? And will this contract pay for that trailer? Will it be worth it? But then what if you lose that contract? Can you afford if you're sitting on 2 trailers now? So there's it's business, right? You got to act like a business person. Because if you don't, it's going to chew up, spit you out. Convoy is Convoy, Yellow, Roadway, whatever. CFL. Mismanagement, debt, loss of profit margin, changing conditions. These are all things that will take you out. How do you minimize that damage? It's going to happen. How many of you were like, okay, if I can just get this going, if I could just have one good month, and then that check engine light goes, hey, sorry, that ain't going to happen. Charles says you just have to act like a government, print more money. TQL is still expanding their facilities here in Cincinnati. They are building another wing. Snorelord has angered the YouTube gods. Yeah, but I'm back. The high prices are only at the retail side. I can't get a beef. I can get a beef on the hoof for 30 cents a pound. Yeah, if you know where to look, you can minimize that, right? I get offered loans to continue operating my business, but I don't see that being a solution to the low rates and continuing. Yes. Man, I'm getting a ton of debt consolidation loan offers, and here's $400,000 liquid cash that you have access to. Yeah, no, thank you. Pale Rider says, I'm a recruiter now, Marty, finding jobs for good truckers. Oh, $1.30 a pound. I was to say, 30 cents a pound. Sign me up. Either way, $1.30. That's really good. So, but look, the convoy thing should be, whether you did convoy freight or not, whether you don't even have to be in the spot market. Okay, you don't even have to be an owner operator. just recognize that there are major changes that are going on as we speak. And you should probably have some things in place that won't put you in a bad situation if you lose what you have. Because when a trucking company goes under, you're looking for a job. Do you have enough money to get home in that truck? If they shut off the fuel card. And just because you work for some major company doesn't mean that they're not too big to fail. Celadon, Convoy, Aero Trucking, those were big companies. CFL is an old big company. Metalhead. Everybody thinks of these small mid-range carriers and brokers that go under. No, if the big ones are going, there's a problem. Too big to fail does not exist. And here's why. Because too big to fail also means that you have so many moving parts that if you lose sight of what those parts are, you're going to lose. LOL, but the prices are so good, then I can make video complaining that 2 new trucks with high payments are only making money sporadically and say, how did this happen? Not sure what you mean. I think I lost your context there. But anyways, that's we can go over to the low board real quick. I got 60 people in here. Watch it drop down to 30. Let's do the density map real quick. 48065 if you want to check out the 123 low board. We'll just do a quick rundown of a load availability if my StreamYard will. Here's Van. This is for today. This is your density list. You're going to start seeing Christmas trees ship out of Washington, Oregon, and Michigan. Michigan is yellow now, so that's interesting. Usually they're green. And just because of green doesn't mean that you're going to get good rates coming in or out. So just, you might get enough for you, but you're not going to, go out and buy that new F-150 you wouldn't want. So, or if you're Pale Rider, a new Chevy 1500, because he's that guy. Today could have been a great roundtable. Yeah, but I don't have that kind of time, CDN. I mean, it's a great idea. CDN called me the other day. He has some really great ideas, but the reality is, if you could see the mind of most drivers, especially on these Facebook groups, roundtables, all they do is become echo chambers of griping. That's all they are. A lot of problems, no solutions. That's why I stopped putting the link on here, because all we want to do is just rehash either the inevitable or the obvious. And then all you do is get people turned off because they feel bad because they don't think that they're worthy of the discussion. Mark says, check Cincinnati, Ohio van for today. Cincy for today, van. Let's remove this weight restriction. All right. Search. It's quite a bit. Let's see what the highest paying load is. Sort by rate per mile. Ooh, $5.69 a mile. Hazmat. Let's see. Plainfield to Jackson, Tennessee, Kentucky. This is all the short stuff. This ain't bad. Cincinnati to Leesburg, Alabama, but you're going to get hit coming out. Same thing with this Villa Rica, Georgia. So let's see where the highest long haul stuff's going. Out of Cincy there for you. Chillicothe to San Jose, $1.43 a mile. Sign me up, $3,600. Not. Let's take a look at this load. Just for poops and grins, right? It's got 2 stops, one in Pittsburgh, California, one in San Jose. They're at 36, which is right around where the rate check is. Cargo Chief's got it at 43, which I would try to get even above that. Because look at the overall rate per mile. If you're running 2,500 miles a week, okay, which is this is right at 25, 26, are your costs below that $1.74? Now, let's scroll down. Let's say that you're an 80/20 company. And let's say you're getting 6 miles per gallon, because is this a heavy load? Auto glass. I don't know if auto glass is heavy or not. So your profit is 43 cents a mile off this load. That's 1,087.38 for 2,500 miles. So in other words, you're getting 1,087 for the entire week. Now, some people can live off that. That's true. But can you do that week after week after week? No. If you can, then you're probably still running right now. You're probably not even watching this channel because you got to figure it out. Man, we got a lot of comments in here today, guys. You guys are awesome. Flatbed rates out of Northeast PA going Midwest, South. Give me a minute. I'd be interested to know how Knight Swift are doing, especially with the recent acquisitions, U.S. Express. That would be a great question. I know a person that was one of their major accounts and they lost it, like as far as like a food product. Was in the news here. Mercs were interested in Convoy, but there seems to be a lot of issues with the banks and they pulled out. Yeah, CH2. Always found figured Pale Rider was hauling hopper bottom. No. Mostly I've been seeing on Facebook because everyone jump a banana and be like, good, I hope more brokerages go out like Convoy. Sure short term, yay, the mean old broker went away, yada yada, but they can't see further than the trees. It's going to cause a domino effect. Money's tight throughout the entire industry. Yep, this is for today. So you got quite a bit today, Mark. It's all going to bad areas for the high rates. Like nothing. There's literally been nothing going Midwest in this whole deal. Here's one. Wapakoneta to Springfield, Missouri. 1,100 bucks. 44,000 pounds. Roll stock paper. You're picking up at that place right next to the TA there. Let's see. A lot of loads though. So let's do the age of the posting. See what the newest postings are. A lot of stuff out of Somerset, Columbus, Louisville, Indy. Cincy's not a bad spot to land, especially on a Friday. So there's quite a bit to choose from. So hold your line a little bit. Volumes are up a little bit in some areas, and so you can afford to hold the line a little bit and find the brokers that are pressured. It's kind of been my strategy the last couple of weeks. Mrs. A says, I thought you stopped putting up the link because some dude tried to show off his dash junk. Yes, that was one of the multiple factors. Yes. To answer your question, Tanks, Night Swift exceeded their third quarter expectations. Google it. There you go. It's good to see. It's good to BS and catch up once in a while. After all, this is a social media channel. It is. If a company says James Clark is publicly traded, then that should be an indication there's financial is ondoings or whatever. I think you scored 1250 Cincinnati to Columbus. Wow, there you go. CDN says, great show today, Steve. Need to get to work. Thank you very much. Let's see. Let's do that. Mrs. A, that only happens and no, yeah, that's true, Dutch. But yeah, putting the link out on the StreamYard is kind of a dangerous game. Public link. Saying what we all need to hear. Keep them margins as high as possible. I've been trying to get debt free, like someone holding a gun to my head. Looking like by February that will be the case. Good deal, Gen Z. That's the way to do it, man. That's the way to do it. Retired is still trucking from my office chair. Same here, Pale Rider. Same here. So, but anyways, let's see. Go back to low availability. That's your map for all the trailers. Let's go to reefer. Apply. South Dakota's lit up. Georgia's lit up. Of course, all this dead area here is going to affect those rates, so it doesn't mean anything. South Dakota, same thing. Let's take a look at what's coming out of South Dakota. Let's see. Some stuff for today. See what the highest paying load coming out of South Dakota is. Revenue wise. $3,300, $1.88 go to California, Texas. $244 to go to Laredo. And yes, they cross dock frozen chicken and other foods. There in Laredo. A lot of stuff going to Florence. Obviously, here's Lake Norden, South Dakota, Springfield, Missouri. 254 miles, 1,600 for the weekend. So that burns fuel if your reefer sitting there running all weekend. Not bad. Let's see what's all for today. Pickup date. Not there's 3 loads for today out of South Dakota. A lot of stuff for Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Monday, it's all Monday, so some are even going into Tuesday and Wednesday. So, and then flatbed. Just for jackknife, we'll take a look at PA, which is green. Washington, of course, the West Coast is doing okay with flatbed. Highest paying load. Gross revenue. $8 a mile, 31.36. I bet you that's probably a specialty. No tarp. Doesn't say if it's oversized or anything. So, yeah, there's something going on with this load. There's your load there, jackknife. So, I wonder if rates will go up now. Go up to move some of the freight that's been offloaded by Convoy, plus a lot of 100+ carriers have gone under lately. It's all about supply and demand. So, anywho, that's it. Guys, it's Friday. I hope you have a good weekend. I hope whatever load you're picking up or delivering today goes well. And I hope you enjoyed the stream. I enjoyed doing this. You guys are awesome. 123 low board 48065 if you want to check out for first 30 days free and $35 for premium after that. And it's another tool in your toolbox in this storm that we're in. So with that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Aggression turns to screws. See you on Monday, or maybe the weekend. Who knows? Peace.